protein. This week we are going to look at proteins. Proteins are so important. I hate to say that of the three, carbohydrates, proteins, or lipids, that one's more important than another because they all are essential to our body's ability to function, for all living things to function. But proteins do so many different things. They're like, the jack of all trades of the organic molecules. Some of the things that they do is they're really important in allowing chemical reactions to take place. They're catalysts, they're enzymes. They are fundamental components of your bones, of your muscles, of other tissues to help us structurally stay intact. And they play a really, really important role in our immune response. In our blood clotting. So proteins just do all kinds of different things. And so making sure that our bodies are getting the adequate amount of proteins is really important. When we think of proteins, we usually think of a steak or eggs, glass of milk. These are animal food proteins, and animals provide a very concentrated source of protein in our diet. However, plants, nuts, legumes, they are also an important part of our diet and an important source of proteins, and they come from plant sources. So proteins can come from animal sources and they can come from plant sources. Proteins are essentially, if you looked at them chemically, they're a whole bunch of smaller chemicals linked in a chain, and these chemicals are called amino acids. So when we break down proteins, we're breaking them down into their individual amino acid chemicals, and then we use those amino acids to provide our bodies with various needs. Now, I mentioned that proteins can be found in plants and animal sources. However, Western civilizations, so those of us in North America especially, we rely on animal sources for the vast majority of our protein. And this has led to a really big shift in agriculture in terms of how we raise those animal products, how we process those animal products, how those animal products are being produced. And one of the side effects of our reliance on animal protein is that we're starting to see that shift in agriculture is actually having some really profound environmental effects, negative environmental effects. So when we talk about environmental issues and those issues that involve agriculture, usually they are surrounded by how we are raising, producing, and processing animal protein sources. And worldwide, we're starting to see a shift of dietary recommendations that's trying to move away from relying on animal sources for our protein and shifting more into a plant-based protein diet, because raising those plants and being able to provide that protein source is less detrimental to the environment than is the agriculture that has become involved in mass producing a lot of animal-based protein. That being said, those people who choose to be vegetarians or other type of dietary restrictions that involve not eating animal-based products, they have a real concern about making sure they're getting enough protein in their diet. Again, because proteins do so many important things for us. So this week you're going to look at everything that has to do with proteins. Where do we get proteins in our diet? How much protein should we be getting? What are some of the secondary things we get by consuming protein? So for instance, vitamins and some of the minerals that we get as a byproduct of eating proteins. How much should we be eating? What are the different sources of proteins? And what can happen to our bodies when we aren't getting enough protein, or sometimes if we're getting too much protein?